You would raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in these proceedings will be the truth? All right. And then for the record, can you please provide us with your first name and your last name and spell them?
Ryan Herman, R-Y-A-N-H-E-R-M-A-N.
All right. And before we go any, did you need to reconnect anything, or you think you're good to go?
I'll take care of it in a moment.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, then whenever you're ready, Mr. Engel.
Thank you. Agent Herman, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Ryan Herman, H-E-R-M-A-N.
Just want to double check. How are you employed, sir?
Good.
How are you employed?
I'm employed by the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Division of Criminal Investigation. I'm a special agent assigned to the Major Crime Unit in Mason City.
How long have you been employed by the DCI?
I've been a DCI agent since April of 2011. I've been assigned to the Major Crime Unit since October of 2014.
Could you talk about your education and training that qualifies you for that work?
After high school, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. I spent 4 years serving in the Marine Corps as an infantryman. In the summer of 2006, I got out of the Marine Corps to attend Mankato State University in Minnesota, where I achieved or earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Mankato State University. In the fall of 2010, I was hired by the Iowa Department of Public Safety as a DCI agent to attend the 35th Basic Academy in Des Moines. I graduated from the academy in April of 2011, and then I was assigned to the Gaming Bureau. Every casino in Iowa has DCI agents at the facilities, so I was in that role for approximately 3.5 years prior to being promoted to the Major Crime Unit in October of 2014.
Can you talk a little bit about your general duties there at the DCI?
DCI agents, we are an assist agency, so we assist local jurisdictions, sheriff's offices within my unit specifically, typically felony level cases. We can work anything from general death investigations, homicides, officer-involved shootings, theft cases, child pornography cases. Usually it's felony level cases.
So when you're assigned to investigate a case, what type of steps are you taking? What type of investigation do you typically do?
It depends on the investigation. It's really, we'll conduct interviews. Depending on the circumstances, a DCI agent will process the scene themselves. Depending on the circumstances, we may utilize the crime scene team out of Ankeny in some cases. We do everything from interviews, neighborhood canvassing. I mean, it just depends. Each case is a little different.
All right. Were you assigned to investigate the death of Karina Cooper in June of 2021?
Yes, I received a phone call at approximately 6:30 a.m. on Friday, June 18th, 2021, from my direct supervisor, Special Agent in Charge, Rick Ron, and Ron is R-A-H-N. SAC Ron informed me that the Tama County Sheriff's Office was requesting the assistance of the DCI with a death investigation in rural Tama County, and asked that I make my way to Tama County to assist. And then he informed me that I would be the case agent in this particular case.
What is a case agent?
A case agent is the direct liaison. So when a law enforcement agency calls the DCI, an agent will be assigned as the case agent to assist directly with that department. So in this case, I was the direct liaison with the Tama County Sheriff's Office. I would have been essentially the face of the DCI for that case. You are the individual that gives out leads, makes certain decisions in certain cases. You're essentially the manager of that case for the DCI.
gave a brief outline of the information that you had received from Rick Ron, the special agent in charge. Did you have any additional information at that time?
I got information that we had a male decedent identified as Ryan Cooper, who was found dead in his recliner chair in his living room, and that his wife, 3 children, and his brother were present when 911, when the Tama County Sheriff's Office arrived on scene.
Is that essentially the sum of the information you had then at that time as you began your investigation?
Yes, from where I lived at that time to my arrival in Toledo, Iowa, it took about approximately an hour and a half, so there was a phone call and that information was provided to me. So I didn't get any more information until I arrived in Toledo.
Were the initial steps then, or the initial step that you took in your investigation?
The first thing I did was interview Karina Cooper, which would have been the wife of Ryan Cooper.
And heading into that interview, what is the nature or purpose of that interview?
She was present, or she was the one who had found Ryan, and we wanted to basically get an overall information of what happened, if she saw anything, heard anything. You know, the person who makes the 911 call is typically a pretty good place to start. And we knew that she was present. Obviously, she's the wife of Ryan. It happened in their home. It's a logical place to start.
At this point, the information that you provided, is that your understanding of essentially that was more or less the sum total of information law enforcement had collectively?
That's the information that I had. I would say that's accurate to say that law enforcement as a whole, that's about the information that they had.
Did you know at this point anything regarding the cause of Ryan Cooper's death?
No.
We just heard extensive testimony regarding Snapchat communications, cell phone searches, search history, etc. Were you aware of any of that information? Is that information that was available to law enforcement at the time that you did this first and second interview, or did that take place much later in time?
Upon my arrival to begin the first interview, I didn't know anything about that. There was information that came in during my initial interview and then throughout the first few days of the investigation, but then the majority of what you're speaking to is later in the investigation.
So to be clear, the information we just talked about with regard to the cell phones was not information in possession of law enforcement when you completed these interviews?
Correct.
So you stated that you interviewed Karina Cooper this was on June 18th?
Yes, it was the morning of June 18th.
So approximately what time did that interview take place?
9:39 a.m. is when I started my recording.
We've heard testimony that Karina Cooper called Aaron Cooper at around 4:30, so it's approximately 5 hours later.
Yes.
Where did the interview take place?
The interview was at the Tama County Sheriff's Office.
What's your initial approach to the interview? What information are you trying to determine?
Really just trying to find out what Karina knew, what Karina had heard, get some background information on her, on Ryan, on the family, really just general information, and then ask her kind of what's going on, find out what's going on with Ryan's death.
When you started this interview with Karina, was this a criminal investigation or essentially unknown?
Unknown.
So did you then ask her, when you first met with her, what had happened that night?
Yes, so the conversation started, we spoke briefly about her children, the marriage, the fact that Ryan and her had been together for approximately 15 years, and they had been married for about 12. I think we briefly talked about how he grew up in the Toledo area, or Traer area, and she grew up in Dysart, which in proximity is fairly close to each other. I got a lot of background information for Ryan essentially being a farmer, and she ran a hair salon out of the a building, an outbuilding on their property at the residence.
What's the purpose of obtaining all that information?
Background, just to try to get to know them, try to solicit information from her, just general information of who's all in the house, who's in the family, things like that.
After you've obtained this background information, did you then move forward to attempting to find out what she knew about the death of her husband?
Yes, we spoke. One of the questions I had right away was, why is Ryan sleeping on the recliner? What's the situation with that? So we spoke in depth about how he has a snoring problem, and he sleeps on the recliner and has for an extended amount of time. I believe she said, essentially when their youngest child was born, she would have been about 4 at that time, that he had been sleeping on the recliner basically that entire time, or sleeping in the living room that entire time, also due to the snoring. And she indicated that there's always children in the bed, and there has been children in the bed with her for a number of years.
Did you ultimately ask her then the series of events that led to her discovering her husband's body?
Yes. She said she ran through kind of the breakdown of the evening. I believe she said that there was her oldest son had a baseball game. They returned from the baseball game and kind of did their baseball game kind of ritual of everybody taking showers, everybody having dinner. She said that she was the last one to take a shower, and she thought that she had gotten into bed around 9 or 10 o'clock p.m. on that evening. She said that she sits in her bed and reads on a Kindle, the tablet. I think everyone knows what a Kindle is, but it's a tablet where you read books. And she was reading on her tablet, and she got up to use the bathroom, what she thought was around midnight, maybe 11:30, goes back to bed and falls asleep. And then she wakes up again at approximately 3 a.m. She's not really sure exact time frame. At that time, she uses the restroom a second time, and then goes back to sleep. She noted that when she got up at around the midnight, 11:30 time frame, the TV was still on, I believe, and she heard Ryan snoring. And then again at 3 o'clock, she remembers that the TV was off, the room was dark, and she heard Ryan snoring at that time as well. She says after she uses the restroom, she goes right back to bed, lays down, falls asleep, isn't in what she would call a deep sleep, but is awoken by a crashing sound. She said that she instantly thought it was, they had a wire shampoo caddy that sticks to the wall in the shower where you put your shampoo and your soap. That caddy or that wire rack had fallen in the bathroom a few days prior, and she remembers because it scared her, and she thought that that was maybe what that sound was. So she goes into the bathroom, checks out, sees that the caddy had not fallen, goes in, walks out of the bathroom, walks into the kitchen area, looks out the kitchen window, and doesn't see anything out of the ordinary out in the dooryard, and then proceeds to go back through the house to the living room. She goes in the living room where Ryan is. She made a comment that she was kind of upset that he didn't get up because she thought this loud noise, and she didn't know what it was, and usually he gets up when something like that happens. And so she goes in there to turn on the light, and then she at first thinks he's just sleeping, and then she notices all the blood.
Did she talk to you about her actions after she first noticed Ryan?
I remember she said that she, at one time, looks on him to see if she sees any markings or any, she can't understand where the blood is coming from. I remember she said that she freaked out. She screams, which I believe the scream caused her son, who was sleeping upstairs, to come downstairs. And she was concerned that something had happened or somebody was maybe in the house. She wasn't sure. So she locks the older boy into the bedroom with the two younger children. And I don't recall if she goes in with them at that point, but she ends up at one point in the room with all three kids locked in the bedroom, and she places a call to Aaron Cooper, who is Ryan's brother.
Did she explain to you what she thought might be going on at that point?
She didn't know. She thought possibly somebody was in the house, something had happened, and she was scared that somebody was in the house.
And you had said that there was some conversation about her attempting to determine what happened to Ryan. Did she tell you she was unable to determine what had happened to Ryan?
Yeah, she said that she looked on his face and couldn't tell if there was any bumps or bruises, cuts, anything like that. She couldn't understand why he was bleeding so much.
Prior to this interview, had you listened to the 911 call or reviewed the dispatch logs that indicated information provided by Karina Cooper to the 911 dispatcher?
I believe I listened to the 911 call during a break that I took toward the latter part of the interview. During this part of the interview, I don't think I had listened to the 911 call at that point.
And we've heard or received evidence in this case that she told the 911 dispatcher that her husband had been shot. Did she ever tell you that?
Not during that first interview.
And instead she stated she wasn't sure and was trying to look and figure out what was going on?
Correct.
So she said, as part of your interview, are you attempting to determine a timeline of events?
Yes.
What's the purpose of attempting to develop that timeline?
It allows us to have a better idea of the totality of everything, from the time the 911 call happens to the time the interview happens. Let me back up. From the time that the incident happens to the 911 call, we want to know kind of what that time frame is between discovery of an incident to the 911 call.
So she says she hears this noise, she gets up, she believes it's something in the bathroom, she looks out the kitchen window, and eventually she goes in and discovers Ryan's body. She starts screaming. She's retreated with Cade to a bedroom, is that correct? And
Correct.
Called Aaron Cooper?
Correct.
Did she tell you what she did next?
I believe it was kind of chaotic for her as far as how the events played out, but she at one point climbs onto Ryan Cooper, and she said she remembered when Aaron shows up. Aaron comes in from the dining room area of the house behind her, and she's laying on top of Ryan.
Did she tell you why she did that?
I don't recall.
Any additional information she was able to provide you about her initial response to finding Ryan Cooper dead?
Not that I can recall.
In discussing Ryan's sleeping patterns, did she talk about whether he was a heavy sleeper or if he would be up moving around in the night?
She said that he typically falls asleep fairly early, and then will sleep maybe till like midnight, and then be up between midnight and 2 or midnight and 3 and watch TV, and he would be up and about throughout the evening. That's about all she said about his, as far as how deep he sleeps. I don't think we talked about that.
Okay. Did you recall her making a comment that he's up roaming in the night like his father?
Yes.
Did this information prompt any further questions or inquiry on your part?
I guess nothing specific.
So at this point, you're really just trying to gain an understanding of what had occurred from Karina.
Correct.
Did you ask if there was anyone that she was aware of that would want to hurt Ryan?
I did. She said no.
What's the purpose of asking that question?
At this point in the investigation, we don't know exactly what is happening or what had happened. There's still a lot of investigating to do, a lot of information to gather, And so in the event that this is a violent crime or something with malice, we want to know who are Ryan Cooper's enemies, who are the people that he's fighting with, who could possibly have done this.
And she stated that she wasn't aware of anyone?
Correct.
Did you ask her if she had any firearms or weapons in the house?
Yes, she did say that when she went into the bedroom with the kids prior to calling Ryan's brother Aaron, that she attempted to remove a firearm from a small safe that was in her closet. She was unable to do so. She said that she's not familiar with the gun, has never shot the gun, doesn't know how to use it, and she couldn't even get the safe open to retrieve the firearm.
Did you ask her specifically if she knew how to shoot the gun or if she's ever used it, or did she volunteer that information?
She volunteered that information.
As part of your interview, are you making observations of her demeanor?
Yes.
For what purpose?
Just to see how she's reacting to questions or how she's just her general attitude during that conversation.
Any initial observations that you thought were important at that time?
She seemed to be doing a lot of crying, but I didn't see a lot of tears.
Were you familiar with the name Houston Danker when you went into this interview?
On the break in the interview, I think about an hour into the interview, we take a short break. And I think during that break is when the name Houston Danker is brought to my attention.
And what information did you have about Houston Danker?
It was talked about while Karina is being interviewed, Aaron Cooper is being interviewed at the same time. And Aaron brought up Houston Danker's name, and that there was a Snapchat that had been viewed by Ryan on Karina's phone, and it was from Houston, and it was details or the information on.
Sustained.
Judge may respond. Agent Herman, you received some information that it sounds like there was a Snapchat message or something involving Houston Danker, and this information was provided by Aaron Cooper, correct?
Correct.
Did that prompt you then to ask Karina about Houston Danker and her relationship with Houston Danker?
Yes.
What was the purpose of you asking that question?
The information was that she may have had an affair or that there was some sort of romantic relationship or physical relationship between Houston and Karina.
How or why would that be relevant to your investigation?
Well, typically, husbands and boyfriends don't get along very well, typically. And so there's the information that Karina might be seeing someone else, and maybe Ryan knows about it. There could be a conflict between those two that Karina didn't disclose to us at the beginning of the conversation.
The interview that you completed then on the morning of June 18th with Karina Cooper, was that recorded?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to view the recording that was completed?
Yes.
Did it fairly and accurately capture the conversation you had with Karina Cooper on that morning?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, the state would move to admit and publish portions of State's Exhibit number 197, which is portions of the interview completed with Karina Cooper.
Well, you may resume. Are you wanting me to start with this, or did you have a question, or where are we at?
Yes, Judge. No, just a reminder that this is the first portion of your interview where you're asking Karina what occurred the night of the murder.
So, you said that last night your daughter was kind of fussy and wasn't going to bed, so between 10 and midnight.
She went to sleep fine. She, every once in a while, has I don't even want to call them night terrors, but it was like she was having a bad dream. So she was kind of fussing in her sleep. She wouldn't wake up, and so I was just kind of up in between reading my book with her, and I know it was close to midnight before I put it down.
Okay. Anything else kind of off or just strange about last night?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. So you fall asleep between midnight. You think that you get up around 3 because that's your kind of your
It's my
usual
normal time.
Okay. And then you go back to bed.
I shut the door, the kids are in there, I went back to sleep.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like I was like hard asleep when there was it sounded like something crashed in the kitchen. It sounded like something falling, which seems to happen a lot in that house. But the house is torn apart right now because we're working on it. I've got stuff sitting everywhere.
Okay.
It was loud.
Like help me out here. Was it
So our wire, we have a wire rack in the shower, and it's on a suction hook thing, and it fell a couple days ago, and it was loud, and it sounded just like that. Not just like that, but loud like that, like a racket.
So no sounds of like glass breaking or anything like that. Just kind of a loud, like you said, a ruckus.
Yes.
Okay. And that woke you up, or that?
It scared me.
Okay.
Kind of laid there for a second. See if kids woke up, which they didn't. It seems like there's always something stupid once a week that him and I get up and see because of the highway or something. And I got up and I peeked in the living room and he was laying there, and I went to the kitchen and turned the light on in the living room, and then
Okay.
I looked in there first before I went to the kitchen, and it looked like he was sleeping.
Okay.
I swear I heard him snore.
Did you happen to see him when you got up to go to the bathroom? Did you happen to see him there then? Do you remember?
You have to look around the corner to see him.
Okay, so you didn't go and see him at that time? Okay.
He was in the bathroom.
Okay. So you said that you get up, you hear the noise, you wait there for a minute, you get up, and you go out, you see him sitting there, then you go and turn on the light to the kitchen?
I went in the kitchen, there's always a light on in there, so they didn't turn on the light. I went in the kitchen and looked out the window over the sink
Okay.
towards the driveway, looked around the living room or the kitchen. There's nothing on our walls anywhere because we've been painting and everything. I didn't see anything, so I went in and I don't know if I said his name or not.
Okay.
I turned on the light, and it just looked like he was sleeping.
Okay. So when you turn on the, did you turn the light on in the living room there?
The table lamp, yeah.
The table lamp?
Yes. I scared my kids so bad.
Yeah. So when you turn on the light, what exactly do you remember seeing?
It just looked like he was sleeping.
Okay.
And then I walked up to him to touch his foot, and there's blood, like, everywhere. Like, a lot. I started screaming, like, a lot.
Okay.
But I knew I scared the kids because Kate came running down. I don't know what I thought. I thought somebody was in the house. I put them in my bedroom and told them to lock the door. And I called Aaron.
And Aaron lives just down the road, right? Okay. So You said you tried to touch his foot, or you touched his foot to try to wake him up?
I think so. That's usually what I do, is shake his toe.
Okay. Do you... So let me backtrack. When you see him for the very first time, he's sitting in the chair like he's sleeping.
He's reclined in the chair. It looks like he's sleeping.
Okay. And
Blankets on him.
where's the blanket on him? Like over him? Like over his chest?
Yeah.
Okay.
His feet always stay up. I swear he was snoring.
Okay. So, when you notice it, obviously, you see the large amount of blood, and you realize that something's wrong, right? Do you make any attempt at, do you touch him? Do you?
I crawled on him. I hit him. I think I was shaking him and screaming in his face to wake up.
Okay.
He fell on the floor next to him because I think he slipped. And I think I was hitting him.
You think you were hitting
I
him?
think I kept hitting him, trying to get him to wake up.
Like-
Shaking him.
Okay.
Holding his face.
Like hitting his chest?
I don't know, grabbing his shirt or his face. Up to wake up.
Okay. So you said you thought that maybe somebody was in the house?
That's what I thought.
Did you hear any other sounds or commotions or anything other than the one that woke you up?
No, nothing.
Like,
Cars go by all time of the night, but I didn't see it. I looked out the kitchen window. I didn't see anything.
okay. No sounds of like the front door slamming shut or
No,
anyone running down your deck or down your steps or anything like that?
no, nothing.
Okay. Okay. So, after trying to wake him up or get his attention, you said you called Aaron?
I called Aaron before. Well, I touched him or whatever. And then I just remember I started screaming and screaming. And Kate came down. That's when I told him to get in my room with the other two kids, and I called Aaron from in there.
Inside the room?
Yeah, I think I locked the bedroom. I was in and out. I went in and locked it, and then I thought I had to go call Brian. I didn't know somebody was there. I tried to get my stupid gun that I don't even know how to work and have never shot out of the safe that he said we had to have, and I couldn't even get the thing open. It's in our bedroom closet.
Okay. And how big of a safe is it? Just a little?
Just a one security type
Okay.
handgun safe that I don't even know how to open.
Okay. And
So
you couldn't get it open?
I don't think so.
Did you ever actually get the gun out of the safe?
No.
Okay.
I touched the safe, I think, because it's some stupid fingerprint thing, I think, and I put my finger on it and nothing happened, and I was screaming, and
Okay.
I called Aaron. He said he was on his way, and I went back out.
Okay.
I told the kids to stay in the room, but they wouldn't, so I kept going back in there to take them in because I didn't want them to see.
Yeah.
And I was scared. I didn't know if somebody was there.
Okay.
All right, that's the first portion of the interview that you completed. Did you then, as you discussed, ask if Karina had any relationship issues or what the relationship was between Karina and Ryan.
Yes,
And that portion was captured during the recording as well?
correct.
So nothing out of the ordinary with Ryan's behavior yesterday? Okay.
Perfectly normal day.
What about in the last few days or like the last week? Is there anything out of the ordinary with him or maybe between the two of you or anything like that? No?
Better than we have been in a while. Kids are finally getting older and we can breathe again.
Yeah.
He's got a lot on his plate right now with the shops going up, and his mom passed away a year ago, so some shift in responsibilities with the farm, but
Is his dad still with us?
yeah,
Okay. Other than Aaron, how many siblings does he have?
he's got a sister and aunts
Okay.
that's about 10 years older than him.
What's her name?
Michelle
Michelle. Is it Cooper? Is she still
Wilson.
Wilson? Okay.
He's just works. He's been side dressing and bailing. He's busy. We both are always going or working, not really going. If I'm not with the kids, I'm working. I have a side business that I make soap and stuff. We just work and stay home.
Okay. You mentioned that things have been better now recently than they were in the past.
Not that they've been bad. We're just finally getting to spend some time together again and not have a child all the time on top of us.
Yeah.
Never been bad.
No real issues between the two of you? Okay.
We didn't get married till we were mid-30s. We've been through all that garbage.
Yeah.
We had plans.
Plans for what?
Just everything.
Okay.
We wanted to buy a lake house. We were gonna last year and it didn't work out. And then the ratio hit. And we decided that it was a blessing in disguise because then we were putting up a shop sooner than we thought. And we'd wait a few years. Just had plans. We're 40 years old and we still have a 4-year-old, and we just joked all the time about hoping that we were alive long enough to retire and go do things.
Agent Herman, just briefly, and then I'll play another clip from your video. There's someone else there in the room with you, obviously. Who is that person?
That would have been Special Agent in Charge Rick Ron.
And throughout your interview with Ms. Cooper, were there portions you said you weren't certain what had occurred yourselves, what the nature of the injury was? Were there portions of your interview where you spoke to her about essentially the fact that you didn't know what happened to Ryan?
Yes, we talked about that it could be a medical situation. We briefly discussed if she had any thoughts that maybe it was a suicide by Ryan or anything like that.
You stated to Ms. Cooper that it could potentially be a medical situation?
We'd said we didn't know, and we've seen cases where this is a result of a medical emergency as opposed to something violent or something malicious.
Considering that she had indicated to 911 that her husband had been shot, did she ever correct you or offer any information as to what she believed happened to him?
No.
All right, returning then to the next portion of your video clip, did you ask, or did SAC Ron ask additional questions regarding her relationship with her husband?
Yes, he did.
Again, not to be personal, okay, but again, these are things we need to ask just to try to figure this thing out. Has there been any marital issues between the two of you?
We had a rough patch shortly after his mom passed away where we weren't getting along. There wasn't any real issue. We were just both sad and mad and not communicating.
And it's something how the ones you love the most, those are the ones sometimes you treat the worst.
I'm
sometimes.
a talker and he's not, and I was always pushing the, breathe, whatever, talk. And he shuts down and
Okay.
nothing where there was ever any doubt about our marriage.
Okay, so no affairs of any kind?
No.
By him or by you? And the only reason I ask is if someone went in and did something to him, and again, we don't know. Could be that, could be medical, we don't know. I'm just thinking about like the scorned lover type of thing or anything like that.
No.
Okay. So there's no
We
no
don't
concerns
go
with that for
anywhere.
you?
We don't do anything. He might go to the bar after work with his friend Riley, and he's never home past 8. That's how exciting we are. It's like
We're
I
the
said,
same way.
we weren't talking and getting along, but we finally talked it out, and there was never,
Never any issues like that?
never.
Okay.
I know I never worried about it. I don't think either one. It's just, like I said, he's been divorced. We got married in our 30s. We didn't.
And further along in your interview, did you again ask her to recount, or did she provide further details or a retelling of what had occurred the night that Ryan died?
Yes.
We got to kind of regroup here. We're going to try our best to get to the bottom of this, okay? And again, we don't know. It could very well be, like I said, a medical thing, because we've seen that before. And he is how old? 42? Or something else could happen. That's what we're here to try to find out and figure out. But basically, to rehash things, just to make sure, you hear this noise, you get up, you think at the time it sounded very similar to the wire rack that had fallen in the shower a couple days earlier. But you went around, didn't see anything, hear anything unusual, didn't hear any cars speeding away, didn't hear any talking or communicating that was going on inside the house at all.
Nothing.
Is it a 1-story, 2-story home?
Story and a half.
Story and a half. And you didn't see anybody flee or anything like that?
No.
Nothing that gave you concern that at least someone was still in the home? Or did you think at the time someone was in there?
I don't know. I was just nervous, just scared.
Okay.
I don't really feel like I thought anybody was in the house until I saw him.
Okay.
And I saw blood. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just started screaming.
Okay. All right. Well, let's give us a couple of minutes here, and we'll be back. Okay? You sure you don't need anything?
So she had recounted her story a couple separate times. At any point, did she talk to you about sending Snapchat messages with Houston Danker at 3:30 in the morning?
No.
Did she ever mention using her phone or deleting photos?
No.
Did she talk about anything that would explain taking over a football field worth of steps?
No.
You said that in your prior testimony you took a break and at that point found out some information about an individual named Houston Danker and asked follow-up questions related to that, correct?
Yes.
And we just saw you in the video getting up to take your break, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'm going to play the remaining portion of your video.
As Rick said earlier, we don't know what happened. Like he said, we don't know if this is a medical thing. We don't know if something bad happened or if something did something to Ryan. And that's obviously what we're trying to figure out. One of the questions I have is, do you know anyone that would have any reason to hurt him?
No.
Has he had any issues with anybody?
No, nobody. He doesn't hurt anybody.
Okay. I know you said that he is usually home by 8 o'clock, but sometimes goes to the bar with Riley.
Once in a while, yeah.
Has he talked about maybe somebody he ran into at the bar that maybe there was... I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. You know, if anyone is going to come into your house and do something to him,
Nobody.
you can't think of anybody?
Everybody loves him.
Okay.
He just works all the time and comes home.
What can you tell me about your relationship with Houston?
Danker?
Yeah.
My friend?
Okay. And I'm going to be blunt with you and be forward with you. The only reason we ask is Aaron made mention about maybe Ryan seeing something on your Snapchat. Not that that was Houston, but maybe there was something with your Snapchat.
Last fall, there was a Snapchat that wasn't even meant for me.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Supposedly. Ryan saw it, not me. And he told me about it. It was something about a married woman and naked, seeing her naked or something like that.
Okay.
And Ryan saw it and confronted me, and I confronted Houston, who were friends on Snapchat, and that's it.
So
And he swore up and down to both of us that it wasn't intended for me. And that was the end of it.
So Houston sent us... I guess I'm not familiar with Snapchat. I don't use it.
Not a picture, Ryan took a picture of the, message that he sent through Snapchat about something about being a married woman or something. I barely even saw it because I didn't know what the hell it was.
Okay.
And he swore up and down it wasn't meant for me.
Houston.
And we had snapped each other earlier in the day that day because he got some product from my salon.
Okay.
So he said that he sent it to the wrong person.
So, I guess...
This is dumb.
Well, we're trying to get to the bottom of dumb.
Oh my God.
We're just making sure that all the questions are answered. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it a situation where Houston sends a snap to you that's not supposed to go to you?
Supposedly.
That,
He did send a snap to me, yes.
that is about you being a married woman or naked with a married woman?
Don't know.
You don't know. Well, what does Ryan say about that?
We've talked about it since then. We've talked about it with friends. That's how non-issue it became after we talked about it. That said something about, remember, I've seen you naked, and something about a married woman.
Has Houston seen you naked?
No! God, no!
Okay.
He's 22 years old.
Oh,
No!
to each their own. I'm just...
Stupid town and their rumors. No!
Okay.
I cut his hair.
Okay.
I watched his kids a couple times when his babysitter flaked.
Okay.
Oh my God.
We don't know unless we ask. Right? So, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it's safe to say that nothing is going on between you and Houston.
Absolutely not. After that Snapchat, I don't even talk. I don't cut his hair anymore. I told Ryan I would just keep a distance from everybody, from him, from his brother, from anybody related in that age group,
Okay.
to make him feel better. And it's been a non-issue since then.
And this was, you said last fall. Get a better time frame on that?
This snap was not last fall. It was more like this spring or late winter.
Okay. Okay.
Last fall is when I was supposedly horsing around with him because I babysat his kids and his truck was at my house because I babysat his kids. That's what all that stupid Houston Danker stuff started with.
Okay.
We're friends. Ryan didn't like him. They don't fundamentally get along. So as his wife, I said, I'm not his friend anymore. Or cutting his hair, just keep a distance. And it was over. It was done.
Okay. When's the last time you socially interacted with Houston? Or cut his hair or anything like that?
Last fall. don't talk to him. He asked me to watch his kids one time. Might have, I don't know if it was last fall or this spring, because it was field work, and I said no, that Ryan wasn't comfortable with it, but Amber, my friend Amber, would be more than willing to, and he called her, and she became his babysitter.
Okay.
That's the last I've spoke with him.
And what's Amber's last name?
Monit.
Monit?
M-O-N-A-T.
Okay. Like I said, we get information and sometimes we have to ask stupid questions. Okay.
So that interview took place, as you said, it started approximately 5 hours after that phone call to Karina Cooper, which was at 4:30 a.m. You also stated then that you conducted an additional interview the following day on June 19th of 2021.
Yes.
What was the purpose of that second interview?
To try to get more information from Karina. The autopsy had been completed on Ryan, and we had completed our search of the house and processing of the house. So I had some follow-up questions for Karina that following day.
When you were going to interview that second day, what additional information beyond the information you received from the autopsy did you have?
Well, we had processed the house, so there were some questions that related to what we found at the house. I guess I don't know specifically what you're asking.
Certainly. So you had said that the house had been processed. Did you participate in what you called processing that house?
I did, yes.
And when you say process the house, what do you mean?
Oh, in this particular case, we utilized the DCI crime scene team. And so the crime scene team came and they did the majority of the processing. But in this particular case, I assisted with looking through. There was a couple of outbuildings on the property as well as some vehicles away from the residence, the actual home. And so I helped photograph and look through both those vehicles and some of the outbuildings on the north side of the property.
And briefly and just generally, what types of things were you looking for?
Just anything, firearms, any information. We weren't sure at that time whether this was maybe a break-in or attempted robbery or something like that. So we were trying to see if there was anything of value that would have been around the property that was maybe missing, as well as anything evidentiary involved in the case, just blood or anything that was out of place.
Did you locate any signs of forced entry during the processing of the scene?
No.
Did you locate any missing valuables, or did you locate valuables that were still present at the scene?
We did. I was able to locate a firearm in one of the pickups on the property, and in a separate vehicle, I located a envelope with $600 in cash and checkbooks. I believe the checkbooks were for the Cooper Farm Incorporated, their LLC or their company that they have. Those were in I would call it an older farm truck, not the nice shiny new one. So.
All right. Why was that important or relevant to your investigation?
It just showed that, if the intent was to come in and steal things, they didn't look very hard, because the unlocked pickup truck next to their house had a pretty good haul in it.
All right. So you have that information, not full details, but generally what did you learn from the autopsy?
That the cause and manner of death was gunshot wounds of the head, and that it was manner of death was homicide.
And you said gunshot wounds. Do you remember how many?
2.
How did that information influence or affect your subsequent interview?
It took out the theory of, is this a medical problem? Is this a suicide? It made it clear that something had happened and that this was a homicide.
With that in mind, was part of the nature of your questioning involving, again, not only developing a timeline, but also scene security, or essentially the security of the home itself?
Yes.
Had you learned information about, and we've heard some previous testimony about the fact that there was a family dog?
Yes, they have a Rottweiler at that time. His name was Ransom, and that he was present in the residence. It was explained to us that Ransom barked at everything. Ransom was a very protective dog, as Rottweilers tend to be. He slept in the house most nights. When it was cooler out, he would sleep outside, but in this particular evening, he was in the residence, and in fact, in the bedroom with Karina and the 2 younger children.
And she provided you with that information?
Yes.
With regard to the security of the home, did you ask her questions about the door that was located behind the recliner Ryan Cooper was found in?
Yes. Generally speaking, was the house typically locked? Were doors always locked? Who locked them? She indicated that Ryan was always kind of the last one in the house in most of the time, and that he would make sure things were locked up, and that they were more focused on locking the shop because there's typically more valuables in the shop as opposed to the residence. She specifically said that she was 99% sure that door behind Ryan was locked, and that she had been doing some painting, and through the course of that, she had made sure that that door was locked as she finished her painting.
Did you try to determine where everyone else in the house was at that time? We've heard testimony at this point that at the time she finds her husband, Ryan Cooper, there were 3 children in the home as well. Did you try to make a determination of where everyone was sleeping that night?
Yes. She stated that she had made a deal with the kids that she would paint their rooms whatever color they wanted over the summer, but kind of the reward would be that all kids would be back in their beds, and that Cade, the oldest boy, was sleeping upstairs. He would sleep on the sofa with his dad and watch TV. The last few evenings he was going to his room, and that the 2 younger children were, by the end of summer, before school started, supposed to be back in their rooms, but on that particular night they were sleeping with Karina in her bedroom.
Ultimately, did you begin to develop suspicions or have concerns that Karina Cooper may be involved in the death of Ryan Cooper?
Yes.
And during this interview, did you confront her with that suspicion?
Yes, I did.
And what did she tell you?
I believe she said it was ridiculous. She made comments about Houston Danker, and that made comments about Ryan's, because Ryan sleeps in the other room, or that they maybe don't get along all the time, that why would that be a reason for her to kill him? Something to that effect.
Did she say she was sleeping?
Yes, she was sleeping at the time. She stated that when this happened, she was sleeping and she woke up from the loud noise.
And did you conduct this interview by yourself, or was there another agent present?
Agent Trent Villada was also present during that time.
And similar to the last recording, or the last interview that you did, was that recorded, the interview
Yeah.
that you completed on the 19th?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, let me just ask you, have you had an opportunity to review the recording of that second interview?
Yes.
Did that fairly and accurately capture the interview that you completed with Karina Cooper on that date?
Yes, it does.
This time the state would move to admit and publish State's Exhibit number 301.
Any objection?
None, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit 301 is admitted. Let me know when you're ready, Mr. Ringgold.
again, this isn't the full interview, these are portions of the interview that you completed. And initially, or at least during a portion of this interview, you spoke with her about the dog Ransom, correct?
Correct. Are you ready, Mr. Engel?
Yes.
What about the dog? I noticed I stepped in a couple piles of dog poop. And somebody said you guys have maybe a Rottweiler.
We have a Rottweiler.
Okay. Where's the dog? Where's the dog now?
He's with some friends of ours that watch him when we go on vacation.
Where was the dog on Thursday night?
He was in the bedroom with me.
Okay.
And he barks at everything.
Okay.
And he woke up when I woke up to the noise and let out a little oof.
To the loud noises.
Yeah, and
okay.
but he's usually upstairs with Cade, but since we took the carpet out, he's afraid of the wood on the steps. So I tripped over him leaving my bedroom. That's what we just talked about today, that if somebody was in the house, he would have been raising hell, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
He barks at everything.
Okay.
But he's in the house every night. Either he kind of wanders around the house.
Okay. You typically leave your bedroom door open?
Yes.
So he's, for the lack of a better term, he's a free-range dog.
Yes.
We have 2 cockapoos that if you let them in the carpet, the minute they see carpet, they're going to pee on it. And they've been potty trained for 3 years.
They're cats.
Yeah.
Cats pee on everything.
As soon as they see carpet, it's pee time. So we seclude them in a little thing at night, but they have free range of the
He's
upstairs.
all over the house.
Okay.
You could probably leave him in the house for 2 days and he wouldn't go to the bathroom. He just
Okay.
goes everywhere in the yard.
Okay.
But he's almost, this time of year, if it's a nice cool night, he likes to lay on the patio furniture and he might not come in.
Okay.
But when it's hot like it has been, he's in the
In the
house.
house. So it's not uncommon to let him in the house. Like he
No,
lives-
almost every night. I prefer he be in the house just because we lost a few dogs to the highway, so we try to
Oh,
keep him
yeah.
inside at night.
What's his name?
Ransom.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's a good dog name. I went with Doug, which I think is
Also a good name.
It's a good dog name. Okay. So Ransom's in the house. He doesn't make much noise other than the kind of the. Oof.
Just a real low, like he
When
does
you-
that if Ryan gets up to go to the bathroom, or
Okay. Okay.
he full on barks if he hears something outside or in the house.
Okay. Well, that kind of takes me into my next question. You get up at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom?
Around there usually is when I do.
Okay. Kind of take me back through that. I know you said that you thought you went to bed about midnight.
I think I finally fell asleep about midnight. Cortland was kind of up and down, not up, but crying in her sleep or something all night. I know I got up to go to the bathroom. The TV was off because it was on before. It's right there in front of the doorway, so I glance, and a lot of times if it's still on, I'll go in and shut it off.
So it's off at 3 a.m.
It was off.
And did you look at the clock? Do you know that it's 3 a.m.?
No, I just know that that's usually about the time that I wake up and go to the bathroom.
And it's because you take the water pills?
Yes.
And what does that do? What does the water pill do?
It's not a water pill. It's called Be Epic. It's like a weight management pill.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I can blame it on, that I tend to go to the bathroom a lot with it.
And specifically, middle of the night?
Specifically, first few hours in the morning when I take the morning one, and then middle of the night. And then that I kind of chalk up to being 44 years old. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's
Just wait
almost
till you
always
hit
about the
50.
same time.
I have to get up and go to the bathroom every middle of the night, too.
And then sometimes I can't fall back asleep.
So when you, I guess, the way I should have asked that question is when you say 3 o'clock, you don't know that it's 3 o'clock. You're just going off of past experience of, hey, my middle of the night, I gotta pee.
Yeah, I'm guessing
You
it was
go
around
out there, and the TV's off, and you said you hear Ryan snoring.
I hear him snoring.
Okay. So, time aside, at that time, whatever time it is, the TV's off, he's snoring, you're 100% sure of that. You go to the bathroom, you go back to bed, you fall asleep right away.
I don't feel like I was sound asleep, you know?
So
I usually, I mean, sometimes I can't fall back asleep and I'll like get on my phone because half the time I'm apologizing to Katie Morrison, my good friend, because she'll always joke with me, are you always up at 3? Because I'll respond to a message or something to her at 3 and then realize it's 3 in the morning. So I didn't get on, I think I fell right back asleep, but I don't feel like I was in a deep, deep sleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I had been asleep for hours.
okay. And then what happens?
And then I wake up to a noise, like a crash is the best way I can describe it. And the first thing I thought was the shower caddy that had fallen the day before and scared Cade and I.
Mm-hmm.
And now he says he heard that too.
Cade says that?
Yeah, but he's heard me talking for a day and I don't know
Yeah.
what to take.
And he's upstairs, right?
He's upstairs. So I got up and I know that I like glanced at the living room, see his foot.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the bathroom, flipped on the light. That thing wasn't down. Flipped off the light, went to the kitchen and looked out over the sink.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we. And then I was pissed because he wasn't up. Usually he gets up too, and we're like, "What was that noise?" And
Mm-hmm.
went in the living room and said his name, and there was no answer. And I swear I heard him snore.
Mm-hmm.
From the kitchen is where I swear I heard him snore. And I turned on the table lamp and just glancing at him, adjusting my eyes, it looked like he was laying there sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was blood.
Okay.
A lot of it.
A lot of blood.
And I just heard it screaming. I thought somebody was there. Cade came running down the stairs, and I don't know if I was going to be going up the stairs. I don't know, but I was at the bottom of the stairs when he came down. And I think I scared him because he turned around and started running back up. And I said, no, come down here and get in the bedroom. And I put him in the bedroom with the other two, and I said, lock the door. And I think I locked myself in there too when I called Aaron. I think I was in the bedroom when I called Aaron. And then I told them to stay in the bedroom no matter what and don't answer for anybody but me or Aaron. And I went out and tried to wake him up.
And did the kids listen to you? Did they stay in there?
Cade came out and came running and he slipped in the blood that was on the floor.
You had stated that you had information from the autopsy that Ryan Cooper had sustained 2 gunshot wounds to the face. Had that information, to your knowledge, been shared with Karina Cooper prior to this interview?
No,
And did you ask her again what she believed had happened to Ryan?
I did.
What did you think about, like, how's this blood? Like, what?
I didn't. I don't know. I was looking all over him trying to find a cut, a shot, a bump. I was just looking, trying to figure out where the blood came from, and I couldn't find anything.
You couldn't find it? Okay. Nothing stood out to you? No noticeable marks
His
or
one
anything?
eye was open. That was the only thing that I
Okay.
keep remembering. I couldn't find. It seemed like it was all around his face, though, and his neck.
Okay.
I didn't pull the blanket back. I just kept grabbing his face.
You'd stated before that you asked her about the door behind Ryan. Why were you asking about that door?
After processing the scene, we found what at that time would appear to be blood on the steps and the stairwell behind that door, and we were wondering if someone had come in that door, come out that door, if that door was locked, if it was open when she found Ryan, or if it was closed when she found Ryan, or what was the status of that door when she discovers Ryan.
Do you know, I understand it's a chaotic situation, but do you know, does anybody go in or out that living room door?
I know Cade was next to that living room door because that's where he slipped. But he would have had no reason to open it. He was there involved, asking me what's wrong, asking Daddy to wake up. So I don't know of any reason why. I don't remember anybody going in or out of that door. The deputy was behind me. They didn't come in that door. I think Aaron met him at the kitchen door.
And you said when Aaron comes in the house, he comes in from the kitchen.
He was behind.
He comes in behind.
When I noticed him, he was behind me. He wouldn't have used the living room door. Everybody that knows us uses the kitchen door.
Okay.
It wouldn't have probably even occurred to him to go in the living room.
So it's safe to say that, as far as you know, nobody came in.
I wouldn't think so,
And
no.
nobody went out that
Not
door.
before or after, or before I was out of the house.
Now I'm going to ask you a tough question. Do you know for sure that that door is closed when you come in there?
I think so. I mean, it's right by his chair. I think I would notice if it was open.
Yeah, that's my
I
opinion too.
am 99% certain it was closed.
Okay. That's a pretty...
It's literally less than a foot away from his chair.
Yeah,
I would have
pretty good
noticed.
percentage. Yeah.
I know I was losing my mind, but I'm sure I would notice. I've been over it a million times in my head. Because Katie keeps asking me if there was a lamp or anything, and I just painted. There wasn't anything in the room.
Okay.
She had described to you during the first interview hearing a crashing sound. Did you follow up on that crashing sound?
Yes.
For what purpose?
We wanted to see if something had in fact fallen off the wall or fallen off a shelf or something in the house to see if there was a reason why she heard a crash.
Did you or Agent Valletta also make an attempt to determine, again, a timeline? She stated that she was in bed between when she heard that crash and when she got up.
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Between 5 and 10 seconds.
Going over it in my head after, I wonder if something that I had stacked up, to put back up on the walls, but all that stuff is in my bedroom. And it didn't sound like it was in my bedroom. It sounded like it was basement, kitchen, all those sounds sound distant. Sounded distant.
Okay.
But it sounded not like glass breaking, it just sounded like a crash.
Okay. Sounded like something falling off a shelf.
Yes.
Or falling
Yes.
from up high down.
Down low, onto something hard, not carpet.
Okay.
But it wasn't even loud enough, like I said, to wake the dog. And usually, if there's a loud enough noise, he's barking.
Yeah.
Barking.
And he doesn't give out a bark. He just
Just
kinda
the low,
woof, yeah.
like the warning.
Lets the air out of his lungs.
Yes.
Yeah, my dog does the same.
And then he followed me. He wasn't even raising hell once he followed me out of the room.
Okay. Do you know? Can you answer this when you're going back and forth and this is all going on? Does Ransom stay in the room with the kids?
I know he was in there at different times.
In the room with Ryan or in
No, in the room with the kids.
Okay.
I don't remember him ever being in the room with Ryan. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I don't remember it.
You don't remember shooing him out of there, grabbing him, throwing him outside, or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No, he didn't go outside, I don't think, until I did, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I know he was in the bedroom when I went back in the bedroom with Cade, because I locked the door and he was in there. Because he was upset, agitated. He wasn't barking, but he was agitated.
He's probably going off of your,
Right.
They can sense that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your dog gets freaked out because when you're freaked out,
Yeah.
you know.
I have to think, though, I don't know if Cortland stayed in the bedroom the whole time, but from what they're telling me, that Cable kind of came in a little bit and she probably followed him. I would have to think that the dog did too, because he follows those kids around everywhere.
Okay. And how is he a big dog?
He's 130 pounds.
That's a big dog.
He's a big dog. He's a big baby, but usually at night he kind of, with the other two always being in bed with me, we always joke that he's pacing because he'll usually sleep at Ryan's feet for part of the night. He'll come in my bedroom for part of the night. He goes upstairs, or he did while there was still carpet with Cade. He's very protective. So more than likely he was between the two rooms, but if I had to guess, he was with the kids.
Okay.
We were talking about nightly routines, lights on in the house at night. I can't see crap in the dark, so I have to leave like a kitchen light on. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch, or sometimes when I snore, I get kicked in the spare bedroom. So I have little lights everywhere. Is that kind of, with little kids, is that how you guys operate?
It's not so much lights, it's me and my decorating that, yes, we have usually quite a few small, like, I call them nightlight light bulbs, but they're in a decorative thing. The kitchen is usually pretty well lit. Got one similar to that in the living room and the dining room, but neither one are plugged in because I just painted and I haven't put everything back. But the house, I would say, is lit decently. My bedroom is very, very dark. The yard light comes through in the living room. That's how I can usually peek in on Ryan.
And that was the other thing we always forget to ask, every case I ever do, the outside lights. So that you have the outside driveway light that's always on.
Yeah, that's
you have
the
a
yard
motion
light.
light too by the door. I can't remember if I saw one.
We have can lights that are new
That's
since we
okay.
got the house sited, and they're never on because we've never had them before. We always forget.
Always forget.
But we would turn, the few times that I've left those on, like when he was combining or something, until he got home, he shuts those off at
But
night.
like with most farms, the driveway is at least lit.
The yard light is quite bright, and it shines right in that living room because I figured he was going to have a fit because I hadn't put curtains or anything back up yet, so it was going to be light while
Right.
he was just sleeping.
Okay, yeah. And I always forget to ask that, and I have to call you at some point. Like my wife, when you hear a noise at night, my wife, especially when the kids were little, we have this big fat cat in our house. He's like 10 times as big as he should be, and he always jumps up on stuff, and it sounds like a bowling ball hitting things, right? So every time Henry would jump on something, my wife would be like, oh shit, and she'd roll out and be on her feet into the hallway. Is that kind of like you, or you're...
Yes, when the kids were really little.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting over that a little bit, that I'm sleeping a little harder than I
You're
used to.
40, I'm 49, so I get where you're coming from.
I'm sleeping harder than I used to, but I don't feel like I was sleeping real hard that night anyway, because Portland was having a weird night that she was fussy.
So I guess my question then would be, is when you hear that noise, are you pretty quick to get out of bed?
I don't feel like I was. I feel like I laid there scared for a second before I moved, because usually he'll jump up,
But
and
like
then when I
within
see him get up, within less than 10 seconds, but usually he's up when there's a noise.
Right.
And then I get up because I'm not.
And usually my wife has to wake me up and say, go look, because I don't hear anything, so.
So I probably laid there for what now feels like probably too long, but at the time probably 5-10 seconds, and he didn't get up, so that's why I would have peeked in the living room to see if he was sleeping.
During the course of the interview, did you ask her about the state of any blood that she observed?
Yes, she was asked what the blood looked like. She made mention of it was chunky or clotted.
And why are you asking those questions?
Because depending on temperature, depending on location, blood clots a little bit differently. It's not necessarily going to clot right away. So it's curious as to whether there were clots there when she found it, or when she found Ryan.
All right.
And you said when you went out there, you saw a lot of blood. Can you kind of tell, because I had it, did you see any behind him on the floor? Anywhere else? Not at first.
After, when I was kind of pulling at his shirt and looking around more, I saw And maybe it was when Kate slid, because I remember looking down and freaking out because he slid in blood, and I remember seeing splatters on the floor beside the chair. I don't remember anything.
Did it look like pools, or did it look just like...
It looked like I remember seeing dots,
Right.
but it had to have been more if Kate slipped.
If he slept, right.
I don't remember seeing any behind him. I remember his favorite blanket that his sister made him that was on him. There was like chunks of blood. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And was it towards the end of your interview then that you had confronted her with your suspicions?
Yes.
I think that this is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Whatever's happening between you and your husband, whatever the issues are, okay?
There are no issues. There are no issues. Because my husband sleeps in a chair in the living room?
I'm not saying that.
Because rumors flew last fall that I was sleeping with some kid that he even said was ridiculous and apologized to me for. Because as a married couple, we had a few months that we weren't communicating very well because we dealt with his mom's death hard. We've been fine. Never once did either one of us ever say that we were going to leave. Never once did we doubt our marriage, our kids, our family. We have plans.
Thank you, Judge. That's the end of that exhibit. Again, at any point during the second interview, did she talk to you about being awake at 3:30 in the morning and sending Snapchat messages with Houston Danker
No.
or deleting photos?
No.
Did she ever talk about the fact that she was having an affair with Houston Danker?
No.
And did she ever state that Houston Danker was a threat to Ryan in any way?
No.
No further questions.